Our next presentation is from Alan Maughan, the CEO of MuniRent. He's going to be talking about collaboration, government, and hackathons. Alan Maughan is the CEO and co-founder of MuniRent, an equipment sharing website for governments. Alan holds a Bachelor of Science and Master's in Mechanical Engineering from Michigan State and University of Michigan, respectively. At MuniRent, Alan helps government agencies find areas of improved efficiency sharing assets.
Hello everybody, my name is Alan Maughan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of MuniRent. A little bit about me, I started a company a while back called 1000 Tools, and after a while we decided to apply for the Code for America accelerator program dedicated for civic startups. And we got accepted, and after being accelerated, what emerged was MuniRent. So today what I'm going to talk about are three things. One is ideas, hackers, and government. So the first story is about ideas. This is a picture of my 1995 Ford Probe. I was actually trying to change the timing belt on it, and when I went to do that job, I realized I didn't have all the tools that I needed to actually change the timing belt. So I was looking at this half disassembled engine, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be awesome if I could just go to a website and find all the tools that I need for this job just from my neighbors? And when I Googled that, I couldn't find it, so I said, I'm just going to build it. So I learned how to code, and I put together this really, you could say it was a prototype. It was a very simple website, but people started putting their tools, and we started creating a community. And after doing that little experiment, I thought, I wonder what else this kind of powerful idea could be used for. So I looked at other tools and other maybe bigger pieces of equipment. And this particular piece of equipment is owned by the Minnesota Department of Transportation. And so I started asking the people that run these pieces of equipment. So I had over 50 interviews with public works directors, mostly fleet managers from different state agencies and different cities all over the US. And what people kept repeating over and over again was really the biggest problem with equipment is the lack of utilization. I mean, we use the equipment, but there's a big problem with the equipment just sitting. And when I thought more about it, I asked the question, whenever someone told me this, I always asked the question, but okay, so what are you doing about it? I'm sure there's already some type of tool to communicate internally within each agency exactly where things are, because these are very expensive pieces of equipment, right? And so can you show me what it is that people use today to kind of share equipment? So this is an example of one agency that shared equipment across an entire state, and each yard had this tool, which is a whiteboard, and they used it to kind of schedule equipment, know when it was going to come in for maintenance. They still had a very expensive and complex fleet management tool, but the crew, the people that actually used the equipment, yeah, they were using this because it was easy, right? So when I saw this, I said, okay, here's another idea. Maybe technology could actually be used in a very simple way to make all the equipment globally available, globally visible for everyone in the organization. So that's where the first story ends. The second story is about hackers. Now, A lot of you might think of hackers as the people that are trying to get your credit card information, or the people that are trying to break into the CIA. But today, the word hackers have been restored to its original meaning, which is for people that use the tools that they have around them to build solutions in a scrappy and cheap way. So in other words, the original word hackers was actually coined back in the 60s at MIT, and today it's being restored, and people that are called hackers are actually developers, software programmers, and people that work with electronics. And a lot of hackers and developers, they get together at certain places. The places where they get together have three key ingredients. They have people, you can use technology, and there's a set of problems. And what's really interesting about these places, these are called hackathons. And a lot of times, hackathons and governments are not usually seen together. However, and Stuart mentioned this during his presentation, last fall, the state of California put together the first hackathon called the GreenGov Challenge. And the set of problems that was presented there were problems of data sets. So there was a lot of data that was made open, and the state of California invited hackers to come in and look at the data and build solutions for that set of data. The results were pretty amazing. There were people from all over the place, and they spent an entire weekend working on these types of problems because they were excited to see the state of California reaching out. And the reason why I know that is because that's me in the corner. I showed up on Saturday morning without knowing anyone, and I said, I had a couple of technologies that I want to try out, a couple of programming languages. I want to see what this is all about. And so I started talking to some people, and I met one guy that was there also by himself. And I said, do you want to work on this thing? I have an idea about this text messaging app. And he said, yeah, sure, let's just start working. And so we started working, and we worked, and we worked. And after we worked for almost 24 hours, the next day there was the judging event. And during the judging event, you might recognize some people there, like Director Kim in the green shirt there as one of the judges. There was a glitch actually during one of the presentations. The screen in the background just stopped working. And what people did was they said, okay, this is what we have, so they showed it from their laptop. What the judges did, which were mostly state of California employees and part of the leadership, they actually got up off their seat and went to the stage to actually look closely at the application. And this level of engagement from the government, I was sitting watching this presentation, and I said, this is amazing. This is great. I can't believe this is happening. So overall, the event was great. There were more than 50 participants, 13 submissions, and here's the best part. All of them are apps that are open source. So anyone could go to GitHub, to the California GreenGov Challenge, and just download these apps and install them on your server. So for us, the day ended up pretty good for us, meaning me and Brooks. We took second place with our app, and what I liked most about this story is that Brooks, this was his first time at a hackathon, and it wasn't his first hackathon, it was his first government hackathon. And this idea that Brooks participated for the very first time at a government hackathon is really powerful, and I think it talks to the change that's happening today. So that's the end of the second story. The third story is about government, and in particular about the federal government and a small agency called 18F that started about 2 years ago. And by the way, we have a speaker from 18F today joining us at 3 o'clock in one of the sessions, and I highly suggest you come listen to her. She's amazing. But 18F has two major tenets. One is open source. So every single app that they build is open source. What this means is that every line of code is made available to everyone. All of us here can actually go to the 18F repository and use that code. But not only use, contribute to it. You can send suggestions and change it, and they'll actually pull those suggestions in and merge it with their code. It's this kind of participation that is unprecedented for every single application that they use. And the second tenet that they have, it's experimentation. They constantly experiment and optimize. And today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite experiments that they did. The experiment that they did was around purchasing and the procurement process. They actually took their spending limit for micro purchases at $3,500, and they said, okay, we have this software that we want to improve. There are some bugs that we've identified. We're going to pick one bug and put it out there and have developers bid on it until we close the bidding process and we pick the lowest bidder. This is what David, the originator of the experiment, said. He said, it's true, this might be a terrible idea, but at 18F, we're committed to experimentation, and we want to see what happens. This is the federal government, okay? We're not talking about a local government that has 5,000 people in their population. This is the entire federal government. So 2 weeks later, the results were in, and it was a really interesting experiment. This is what David said in a blog post, which he documented afterwards. He said, well, we sure didn't expect this, but the winning bid for the first iteration of the 18F micro purchase experiment was $1. So there was a developer out there that was willing to work for $1 just to fix this bug. It was so important for that developer to squish that bug that they were willing to do it for $1. So, to summarize, I think these three stories have a very important message, and that is that if government that is full of amazing ideas reaches out to hackers which have full of experience in execution, at the center of that collaboration is where I believe true government transformation is. Thank you very much.
Job. Okay. Thank you, Alan. That was great.